close your eyes if they are not already closed. Let your body settle into whatever is beneath you right now. Feel the weight of your arms, your legs, your whole self, sinking just a little deeper. There is nothing you need to do tonight. There is nowhere you need to be. You are simply here, breathing slowly, and I am going to take you somewhere very quiet. Breathe in slowly and breathe out. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw go soft. Let the space behind your eyes grow dark and still. Tonight, you are going to board a train. Not just any train, a sleeper train. A train that moves through the night while you rest, carrying you gently and quietly from one world into another. You do not need to know the destination. You only need to step on board, find your place, and let the train do all the work. So let us begin. It is midnight. The station is nearly empty at this hour. The platform stretches out ahead of you, long and dimly lit, and the pale yellow lights overhead cast soft pools of warmth onto the stone beneath your feet. You can hear the faint echo of your own footsteps as you walk, slowly and without any hurry, toward the far end of the platform. The air is cool, not cold, just cool enough to feel clean and fresh against your skin. You breathe it in, and it settles quietly into your chest. You breathe it out, and a small cloud of white drifts gently away. Somewhere far down the platform, a clock ticks, steady and low. Tick, tick, tick. It marks the minutes with no urgency at all. There are a few other travelers near you, moving slowly, speaking softly if they speak at all. A woman in a long coat stands reading a folded paper near one of the benches. An older man sits with his hands resting on his knees, looking peacefully at nothing in particular. A young couple walks hand in hand without saying a word. Everyone here moves quietly, as if they already understand that the night calls for stillness. You carry a small bag. It is light. It holds everything you need and nothing more. You do not check your watch. You do not look at your phone. You simply walk slowly toward the train. And there it is. The sleeper train waits at the far end of the platform, long and dark blue, stretching away into the shadows. Its windows glow with a soft, amber light from within. Steam rises gently from beneath the carriages, curling upward into the cool midnight air and disappearing. The engine breathes with a low, steady sound, almost like a sigh, almost like something alive and patient. You stop for just a moment and look at it. It is beautiful in a quiet way, the kind of beauty that does not demand your attention, but simply is. A conductor stands near the nearest carriage door. He is dressed in a dark uniform, unhurried, and he nods gently as you approach. He takes your ticket, barely glances at it, and hands it back with a small smile. He gestures toward the door with one slow motion of his hand. You step up, 1 step, 2 steps, and you are inside. The warmth wraps around you immediately. It is the warmth of a train at midnight, a particular kind of warmth, close and deep and slightly sleepy smelling, wood and wool, and something faintly sweet, like a candle just blown out. The corridor is narrow and carpeted in a deep, soft burgundy. Small brass lamps line the walls at intervals, and they glow with a low, amber light. Everything is hushed. You walk slowly down the corridor, running your fingertips lightly along the wall, feeling the gentle vibration of the waiting engine beneath your feet. Your compartment is near the end. The door slides open with a soft, smooth sound, and there it is, your sleeping space. The bunk is already made up. Clean, white sheets folded down neatly at one corner. A pillow that looks soft and deep. A small wool blanket folded at the foot in a dark and muted green. The light inside the compartment is very low, a warm amber glow from a small lamp mounted near the window, and the window itself is tall and dark, framing the empty platform outside. There is a small ledge beneath the window, just wide enough to rest a cup or a book. There is a hook on the wall for your coat. There is a small ventilation grate near the ceiling, and through it comes the faintest suggestion of cool, fresh air. You set your bag down. You hang up your coat. You sit on the edge of the bunk for a moment and simply breathe. The train hums beneath you, not a loud hum, a deep, settled hum, the kind that travels up through the floor and into your bones and tells you without words that everything is fine, that you are safe, that you are held. Outside, through the window, you can see the platform beginning to move. Slowly at first, almost imperceptibly, and then with a smooth, steady intention. The woman with the folded paper drifts past. The man on the bench drifts past. The pale yellow lights stretch into ribbons and then give way to darkness. The train is moving. You breathe out. You lean back against the pillow and let the train take you. The sound of the train at night is its own kind of music. It begins with a low, rhythmic clicking, the wheels finding their steady beat on the rails, and that sound fills the compartment like a soft, continuous lullaby. Click, 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 click. Over and over, steady and even, without a single break. It is one of the oldest sounds in the world, and something deep inside you recognizes it and relaxes into it. Beneath the clicking is the deeper hum of motion, the whole body of the train pressing forward through the dark. And beneath even that is a faint, low vibration, something you feel more than hear, a gentle trembling in the walls and the floor and the pillow beneath your head. Together, these sounds make something very like silence, a full silence, a living silence, the kind that holds you rather than emptying out around you. Outside the window, the world has gone dark. The city falls away. Streetlights thin and then disappear. The shapes of buildings become the shapes of trees. And then the trees give way to open fields, and those fields dissolve into the long, soft darkness of the countryside at midnight. You watch without really watching. Your eyes grow soft and heavy. The darkness outside is not empty. It has a texture to it, a depth, and here and there the very faintest suggestion of distant lights, a farmhouse, a road, a single lit window in the middle of nowhere, passing by and gone. You think, without really thinking, of all the people sleeping behind those windows, all the quiet houses in the dark, all the still rooms and still beds and slow, sleeping breaths. And you are moving through the middle of all that stillness, carried gently and quietly, and it is the most peaceful feeling in the world. Let your body sink a little deeper now. Feel the pillow beneath your head. It is soft and cool on one side. You turn your face just slightly, finding that cool patch, and breathe out slowly. The wool blanket is light but warm. It rests on you without weight. You are perfectly comfortable. You are perfectly still. The train rocks very gently. A subtle, slow rocking side to side, almost too faint to notice. But your body notices. Your body knows this rocking. Something in you that is older than thought responds to it and lets go. Click, 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 click. The wheels keep their rhythm. You breathe in. Air inside the compartment is warm and carries a faint, pleasant smell, clean cotton, a touch of something woody, the particular scent of a train at night that has no name but is entirely familiar. You breathe out. Your thoughts drift the way they drift just before sleep, loosely, without direction, without holding on to anything for long. An image forms and fades. A word floats past and disappears. You are not thinking. You are only being, resting, breathing. Click, 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 click. Outside, the darkness continues. Somewhere in the middle of the night, the train passes through a tunnel. You notice it only as a change in sound. The clicking deepens and fills, bouncing off close walls, and the darkness outside the window becomes absolute, a perfect black. And there is for just a moment the sense of being entirely enclosed, entirely held, like being inside something warm and safe. And then the tunnel ends and the world opens out again into the soft, dark countryside, and you breathe, and the clicking returns to its steady, open rhythm, and you let your eyes close. You do not need to see where you are going. The train knows the way. You are not the driver. You are the passenger. Your only task tonight is to rest, to lie still and soft in this small, warm room while the world rolls past outside and the wheels keep their quiet, endless count. Click, 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 click. Let your hands go soft. Let your fingers uncurl and rest, open against the blanket. Let your feet go still. Let the last traces of the day dissolve, the things you meant to do, the words you said or wish you had said, the plans and the worries and the small anxious lists. Let them go. You can think about all of that another time. Right now, there is only this: the warm compartment, the dark window, the rhythm of the rails, and somewhere far ahead, without urgency, a destination waits. But you do not need to reach it yet. You have the whole night Time on a sleeper train moves differently. It does not press forward the way time usually does. It drifts. It stretches. An hour feels like a soft, unhurried space you can settle into and forget about entirely. The clock has no power here. The only measure of time is the slow, rhythmic counting of the wheels, and they count without meaning, without urgency, simply because it is their nature. You have been on this train for a while now. You are not sure how long. It does not matter. The amber lamp in your compartment has dimmed slightly, or perhaps your eyes have adjusted. The light is very low and very warm. It is the color of late evening, of candlelight, of the last ember in a dying fire. Outside the window, the darkness has changed. It is still dark, but there is something different about it now. A quality, a softness, as though somewhere, very far away, night has begun the slow, private work of becoming morning. You cannot see it yet, but you can feel it the way you can feel a season changing, not in any single thing, but in the texture of everything at once. The fields outside are wider now. You can sense their expanse even in the dark, and there are hills, low, rounded hills, barely visible against the slightly lighter sky. They rise and fall at the edges of the darkness like a slow breath. Like the breathing of the earth itself, the train moves through all of it without disturbing anything. Click, 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 click. You watch the hills without watching. Your eyes are almost closed. The lids are heavy and soft and warm. Every time you blink, the blink lasts a little longer. A little longer. The edges of things grow softer. The lamp is very far away. There is a particular kind of tiredness that comes in the middle of the night, on a moving train, in a warm room, listening to a rhythm you did not choose and cannot change. It is a tiredness that is also a kind of peace. It does not demand anything of you. It does not ask you to do anything except what you are already doing. Simply lying still, simply breathing, simply letting the night carry you. You breathe in, you breathe out. The hills roll past. The wheels count on. Let us stay here for a while. Just here, in this warm compartment, on this moving train, in the middle of the night. There is nothing else you need to pay attention to. Just notice, very gently, the feeling of the mattress beneath you. It is firm enough to support and soft enough to cushion. Your back sinks into it just slightly. Your hips, your shoulders. Each part of your body makes its small impression and rests there. Notice the pillow, the weight of your head pressing into it, the slight coolness at the edges where your face does not touch, the warmth where it does. Notice the blanket, the way it drapes over you without pressing, the faint texture of the wool beneath your fingers, the warmth it holds, your own warmth, returned to you gently. Notice your breathing. In, out, in, out. Notice how each breath is a little slower than the last. There is no effort in breathing now. Your body does it all by itself, as it has always done, through every night of your life, quietly, and without without you having to think about it at all. Breathing is the oldest skill you have. It asks nothing. It simply continues. In, out, the train rocks. Click, 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 click. The darkness outside is deep and still. Let your mind go very quiet now. If a thought comes, that is all right. Let it come. Let it stay for just a moment, and then let it drift the way a leaf drifts on the surface of still water, moving without going anywhere. Circling, settling, you are very comfortable, very still, very warm. Your eyes are closed, or nearly closed, and behind them, there is just a soft darkness, your own private darkness, and it is restful and wide. Drift into it. There is nothing to hold on to tonight, nothing you need to remember, nothing you need to figure out. Just this steady, rocking, clicking darkness, and the faint warmth of the lamp, and the gentle, endless motion of the train. Let go. Let the train carry you. Somewhere in the deep middle of the night, you sleep. Not a dramatic sleep, not a falling, just a soft dissolving, the way mist dissolves in morning light. So gradually you cannot say when it happened or where the boundary was. One moment you were aware of the pillow, the blanket, the click of the wheels, and then you were somewhere else entirely, or perhaps nowhere, in the quiet country that lies between one thought and the next, that place without edges or time, that soft and wordless place. And the train carried you through all of it, steady and patient, never hurrying, never slowing, just moving through the dark. And now, something has changed. It is the light that wakes you, but gently. Not a sharp light, not a loud light. A light that is barely a light at first, a faint, gray softening at the edges of the window, as if the darkness is being slowly diluted, as if something patient is adding just a little more pale to the dark, grain by grain, degree by degree. You open your eyes without meaning to, and there it is. Dawn, not the full dawn yet, not the gold and pink of it, not the sun, just the very first gray-blue suggestion of morning, that private moment before the light commits itself, when the sky is the color of old pewter and the world beneath it is made of shadows and shapes. You lie still. You watch. And what you see outside the window is nothing like the city you left behind. The landscape has changed entirely while you slept. You knew it would. That was the promise of the sleeper train, that you would board in one world and wake in another. But knowing it and seeing it are different things. Outside the window, there are hills. Long, slow, rolling hills, rising and falling against the pale sky. Not dramatic hills, not sharp or jagged. Gentle hills, rounded at their peaks, curving softly into the valleys between them, the way a good sleep rounds the edges of things. They are dark still, these hills, but with a quality of darkness that is about to change. At their very highest points, where the sky begins, there is the faintest suggestion of light beginning to gather. The fields between the hills are flat and wide and perfectly still, and they are white, frost. The whole landscape is covered in frost. A thin, delicate layer of it lying over every blade of grass, every fence post, every low stone wall, every bare branch of every hedgerow. It does not sparkle yet. There is not enough light for that, but it is unmistakable. A pale, clean whiteness over everything. The world outside has been touched very lightly, very evenly by ice in the night. You press your face a little closer to the glass. The window is cool against your forehead. You leave it there for a moment and simply look. The train moves through this white, still world at the same steady pace it has kept all night. Nothing changes in the rhythm. Nothing changes in the sound. Click, 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 click. But the world outside has become something else, something hushed and crystalline and new, and the wheels carry you through it as gently as before. There is no sound from outside, none at all. You cannot hear the frost. You cannot hear the fields or the hills or the pale sky overhead. The world outside the window is completely, absolutely silent. The way the world is silent at the first edge of morning, when nothing has yet begun. It is the most peaceful silence you have ever seen. The light is growing very slowly. The gray-blue of the pre-dawn sky is becoming something slightly warmer. Not warm yet, still cool, still silver. But there is a direction to it now, a source, something gathering just below the line of the hills to the east, pressing up against the horizon from beneath. The frost on the fields begins to take on detail. You can see now, as the light increases by degrees, the individual texture of the frozen grass, each blade tipped in white, standing still and stiff and very small. You can see the lines of old stone walls running across the hillsides, covered in lichen and moss, and now in frost, and they seem ancient in this light, ancient and very patient, as though they have been standing here since before memory. You can see a tree, one single tree in the middle of a field, bare of leaves, its branches reaching in every direction with a kind of calm abandon. And every branch, every twig, every smallest division of wood is outlined in white. It stands perfectly still against the lightning sky. You watch it until the train carries you past. And then it is gone, and there is another field, another hillside, another long curve of frost-covered ground, and the silence continues. Your breath makes a small cloud against the cool window glass. You breathe in the slightly cool air of the compartment, and you breathe out, and your breath drifts away, and you breathe in again. Everything is very slow. Everything is very still. The train is the only moving thing in the world. You are not in a hurry. There is nowhere you need to be in the next few minutes. There is nothing waiting for you at the other end of this journey that requires urgency. You are simply here, in this warm compartment, watching the world wake up outside. Let that settle over you, the particular luxury of having nowhere to be, of being, for this small and perfect stretch of time, between places, between the night that brought you here and the day that will arrive. In the still, quiet gap between, the hills continue, each one slightly different from the last, but carrying the same quality, the same roundness, the same patient, frosted silence, the same pale light touching their highest edges and saying, "Not yet, not yet." But soon you feel very rested. It is the rest of someone who has slept through a long night of movement and arrived somewhere new and quiet. Your body is soft, and your mind is soft, and the world outside is soft too, covered in its thin white coat of frost, and everything matches. You breathe in, you breathe out. Click, 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 click. The rails run on, straight and quiet, through the valley between the hills. At the edge of one of the fields, you see a cluster of small trees, birch trees perhaps, thin and white-barked, their bare branches catching the growing light. They stand together without touching, each one distinct, each one still. They look, in the gray-blue light of early morning, like something from a dream. Something you might draw from memory if you were trying to paint what stillness looked like. You file them away somewhere quiet in your mind. The warmth of the compartment is doing something gentle to you. There is the warmth of the blanket. There is the faint warmth of the dim lamp. There is your own warmth, the warmth of your body, which has been lying still for hours now and has settled into itself completely. And there is the warmth of the light outside, which is not yet warm at all in temperature, but carries a promise of warmth, the way very early morning light always does. You are held between these warmths, inside and outside, and it is one of the most comfortable feelings in the world. Your eyes drift closed again, just briefly. When they open, the landscape outside has shifted slightly. More hills, or different hills, or the same hills from a different angle. It is hard to tell. They are all beautiful. They are all still. They are all covered in frost and quiet. You think, without really thinking, of how many mornings like this have happened here. How many times this particular light has come up over these particular hills. How many times the frost has formed in the night and waited to catch the dawn. How many travelers have watched it from train windows, from hilltop paths, from farmhouse kitchens, from the deep, still interiors of their own early waking. You are one of countless people who have watched this light. That thought, instead of making you feel small, makes you feel connected. Part of something large and slow and ongoing. Part of the long, quiet morning of the world. You breathe in, you breathe out. The hills roll past. There is something happening at the horizon. The gathering of light there has shifted from silver to the faintest, most tentative gold. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself. It is simply a change in temperature, a warmth beginning to enter what was cool and gray, like a single warm note introduced into a quiet piece of music, almost too subtle to catch, but unmistakably there. The frost on the fields begins to change. change where before it was simply white. It is now beginning, at its very tips, to hold a faint suggestion of gold. The highest blades of grass, the uppermost reaches of the stone walls, catch this new light and hold it. Just barely, just at the very edge of visibility. The tree in the field, if there were still a tree, would be glowing now. The birch trees you passed are already behind you, already memory. But there are other things ahead. A farmhouse set back from the railway line, its walls the color of old cream in the new light, its windows dark, everyone inside still sleeping. A thin curl of smoke from one chimney, rising perfectly straight into the still air, and then dissolving without drama into the pale sky above. Someone is awake there. Someone in that house has woken early and lit a fire, and the smoke rises as evidence of that quiet wakefulness. You watch the smoke until the farmhouse slides behind you. And then there is more frost, more hills, more of that particular golden light building along the horizon. The click of the wheels does not change. It is exactly the same as it has been since midnight. The same rhythm, the same steady pace. Only the world outside has changed. Only the light has changed. And it has changed so slowly, so gently, that you feel you have not so much witnessed it as simply been present during it. That is enough. Being present is enough. Let your body rest a little more, even though you have slept. There is still rest available. A deeper kind. A rest of simply lying still with open eyes and watching without agenda. A rest of not needing anything. A rest of being exactly where you are and finding it entirely sufficient. The compartment is so quiet. The only sounds are the wheels on the rails and the faint breath of the ventilation. And very softly, the occasional small creak of the carriage as it moves. These are sounds you have stopped hearing and started feeling. They are part of the texture of this space now. You are a long way from home, or perhaps not so far at all. Perhaps the hills outside are only an hour or two from the familiar streets and rooms you know. It does not matter. You feel a long way from home in the best sense. Far enough that everything has grown quiet. Far enough that the usual sounds and concerns are muffled, distant behind the thickness of sleep and miles. And yet you feel entirely safe. The train knows where it is going. The track holds steady beneath the wheels. The conductor is somewhere in the corridor, moving quietly, doing whatever conductors do in the early hours of the morning. And you are here, in your small warm room, and the world outside is covered in frost and waking up without any urgency at all. This is what it feels like to be somewhere completely different. Not foreign. Not strange. Just quietly not where you were. And everything here is still. The gold on the horizon is brightening. It has moved in the last few minutes from a suggestion to a presence. There is no sun yet, not the disk of it, not the direct light. But the sky above the eastern hills is now distinctly golden, a deep, warm gold, and above that a fading amber, and above that a pale, clear blue that stretches overhead and away, and is the beginning of day. The frost on the fields catches all of this. Every blade of grass, every fence post, every stone, every leaf that the autumn left behind, and which was afterwards covered in ice. All of it catches this golden light and holds it. The frost becomes gold. The fields become golden. The entire landscape, which was gray and blue and still, becomes something warmer and slower and just as quiet. It is breathtaking, not in a dramatic way, not in a way that requires gasping or movement, simply breathtaking in the way that very quiet, very still, very beautiful things are breathtaking. You breathe a little more slowly. Your chest expands and then releases and then expands again. And there is a quality to that breathing that is very close to peace. You watch. You do not feel the need to describe it to anyone. You do not feel the need to capture it. You simply watch it, and it passes through you and leaves something behind in its passing that is very quiet and very good. The hills roll past. The gold deepens. Click, 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 click. You might have slept again for a little while. It is difficult to say. The space between watching the frost-covered hills and watching them still, now painted gold, is blurred at its edges. Perhaps you closed your eyes and drifted for a few minutes. Perhaps you simply became so still and so peaceful that waking and sleeping were barely distinguishable. It does not matter. You are here now. The train is here. The hills are here. The morning frost is here, catching the early light and holding it, and the silence outside the window is complete. No wind. That is what the absolute stillness of the frost tells you. There has been no wind this morning. The frost has been allowed to lie exactly as it fell, undisturbed, every crystal in its place. The world outside has remained perfectly still, and the frost has preserved that stillness, has made it visible, has given it a texture and a whiteness that you can see. Wind would have ruined it, but there is no wind. The air is as still as water in a deep, sheltered pool, as still as the space at the center of something very calm, as still as your own mind is right now. You breathe. The train moves. The frost gleams in the growing light. There is a pond. You see it as the train rounds a gentle curve, and it appears suddenly between two low hills, oval and smooth, and entirely still. It is the color of the sky, which is now a mixture of pale gold and soft blue, and it reflects that sky perfectly, every shade, every gradation, without a ripple. At the edge of the pond, a stand of reeds, thin and brown and frost-tipped, stands perfectly still. A single bird, some kind of gray water bird, long-legged and patient, stands in the shallows at the near edge. It does not move as the train passes. It stands with the absolute, comfortable stillness of a creature that has all the time in the world, that does not need to hurry, that simply exists in this cold, quiet morning and finds it sufficient. You watch the bird until the train carries you past. And then the pond is gone, and there are more fields, and the frost continues, and the sky continues its slow progress toward full morning. The bird stays with you somehow. That particular stillness, that particular patience, standing in cold water in a frost-covered morning, not going anywhere, not needing anything, simply being exactly where it is. You understand, in this quiet moment, exactly how that feels. Your body is very heavy, not in an uncomfortable way, in the way of something that has fully let go. Each part of you, your feet, your calves, your thighs, your lower back, your shoulders, your hands, rests completely. There is no part of you that is braced or tightened or ready for anything. You are at rest. The blanket is soft and warm. The pillow holds your head with an even, gentle pressure. The mattress beneath you is firm enough that you feel supported, soft enough that you feel cradled. Outside, the morning continues without you having to do anything about it. That is the gift of a train, that the world moves past without requiring you to move through it. You are still, and the hills pass. You are still, and the fields pass. You are still, and the frost and the ponds and the bird and the pale gold light all pass before your window, and you receive them without effort, as you might receive a very quiet and beautiful piece of music, simply by being present and open. Click, 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 click. The wheels on the rails, the low hum of the engine, the very faint vibration in the walls, your breathing. These are the only sounds in the world right now. Let me describe the light to you again, because it has changed. The sun has not yet risen, but it is very close. The sky to the east is a deep, burning gold at the horizon, and it fades upward through amber and peach and pale rose, and then into a clear, luminous blue. The frost on the fields catches every shade of this, and the result is something extraordinary in its quietness. The shadows are still long. They stretch westward from every fence post, every stone, every tufted clump of grass, cool blue shadows on white frost. But at the edges of the shadows, where the gold light touches, the frost sparkles. Very softly, very finely, as if someone has scattered the smallest possible diamonds across every surface, and they are just now being discovered by the light. The whole world sparkles quietly. You watch it from your warm window, your face still close to the glass cool against your skin, and you breathe. It is the most peaceful scene you have ever witnessed. Rolling hills, morning frost, golden light at the edge of the sky, absolute silence, and you traveling through the middle of it, held in a warm room, rested and still. The train will arrive at its destination soon. Not yet. There is still time. The hills have not ended. The frost has not melted. The morning is still new enough to belong entirely to itself. But there is the sense, as there always is at this point in a journey, that the world is beginning to gather itself. The The landscape is slowly becoming more inhabited. A road runs alongside the track for a while, empty and silver frost in the early light. Another farmhouse closer to the line this time, and one of its windows is warm with interior light. Another cluster of trees, these ones more numerous, a proper wood at the base of a hill, their bare branches silver gray and very still. The countryside is waking up, not loudly, not quickly, just gently stirring, the way things wake when there is no urgency, when the morning is cold and quiet and offers no pressure to rush. A flock of birds lifts all at once from a field somewhere to your left. They rise in a single, coordinated movement, a dark ribbon against the pale sky, and then they wheel and turn and settle somewhere else, and the field is still again, and the frost is undisturbed. You watched them rise, and now they are gone, and the frost is still, and the wheels count on. Let your eyes close again if they want to. The journey is not finished. There is still the soft morning outside, still the frost, still the hills. But you do not need to watch every moment of it. The landscape will continue whether you watch or not. The light will grow whether your eyes are open or closed. You can rest a little more. Feel the warmth of the compartment, the weight of the blanket, the give of the pillow beneath your head. You have spent the night on this train, moving through the dark, and you have arrived in a new morning, in a place you do not know, covered in frost and silence. That is enough. That is more than enough. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out slowly. The train rocks. Click, 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 click. Think for a moment about the frost, not in any difficult way. Simply think about it softly, the way you might turn a smooth stone over in your hand. Think about how it forms in the night, when the temperature drops and the moisture in the air settles on every surface and becomes ice. Crystals, each one perfectly formed, each one too small to see clearly, layering themselves over everything in the dark. It happens in silence, while everything sleeps, while the birds are still and the fields are empty and the roads are quiet, and even the train passes through on its way to somewhere else. The frost falls. It takes all night, and in the morning, there it is. A thin, perfect, white coat over every single thing. There is something very soothing about that, about the idea of a transformation that happens quietly, in the dark, while no one watches. The world goes to sleep under one set of conditions and wakes under another. And all the work of changing was done gently, without drama, in the patient hours between. You are a little like that too. You boarded this train in one state, and you will step off in another. Sleep has done its quiet work. The hours of darkness have passed, and something in you has rested and settled and shifted the way ground settles after rain, the way things always do when they are given enough stillness and enough time. You are not the same as when you left. You are quieter, softer, more settled, exactly like the frost-covered fields outside. Breathe in, breathe out. the hills are changing shape. You notice this slowly, without urgency. The long, low hills of the earlier hours, the rounded, patient ones, are giving way to something slightly different. These hills have a little more character, a little more variety. A sharper slope here, a broader valley there. A hill that rises more steeply to a narrow summit, where a single outcrop of dark rock shows through the frost. They are still quiet, still covered in white, still meeting the pale morning sky with the same patient stillness. But they are different. You have traveled a long way while you slept. You are somewhere you have never been, or somewhere you have been so long ago that it is as good as new. And every hill, every frosted field, every pale gray stone wall is unfamiliar and therefore precious, in a way that familiar things can never quite be. There is a particular pleasure in waking up somewhere completely different. It is a pleasure that requires no effort. It simply arrives, the way the light arrived this morning, gradually, without fanfare, until you realize it is fully there and has been for some time. You feel it now. That quiet pleasure of being somewhere new, somewhere still, somewhere covered in frost and morning light and absolute silence. Click, 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 click. The wheels count the pleasure of it out in their own quiet way. The sun comes, not dramatically. The sky has been building toward it for an hour, gathering its golds and ambers and pinks. And now, the actual disk of the sun appears at the very edge of the eastern hills, a small, intensely bright circle of light, and everything changes. The frost becomes fire. Every crystal, every tiny blade of ice-dipped grass, every frost-covered surface in every direction catches the direct light of the sun and reflects it back. The fields, which were white and gold, become dazzling. Not harshly, not blindingly, but with a soft, all-over brilliance, as if the ground itself is generating a gentle glow. The shadows stretch impossibly long, cold blue lines running westward from every stone and post and branch and tuft of grass, and between the shadows the frost sparkles, and the whole landscape pulses with this very quiet, very cold, very beautiful light. You squint slightly. You breathe. The sun is up. The morning is here. And the train moves through it all, steady and quiet, its wheels ticking out the same rhythm they have kept since midnight, the same patient counting that has not changed with the dawn or the frost or the light. Click, 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 click. There is a village. It appears between two hills, a small gathering of stone buildings, a church with a square tower, a few narrow streets, a green space at the center where an old stone cross stands in the frost. Smoke from several chimneys, one or two lights in windows, a dog somewhere barking once and then falling silent. The train does not stop here. It moves through the edge of the village without slowing, and the buildings slide past. The church tower slides past, and then the village is behind you, and there are fields again, frosted and still, and the hills continue. But in that brief passing, you saw everything you needed to see. The church tower against the pale blue sky, the frost on the green, the smoke rising straight up from the chimneys in the cold, still air. A whole world contained in a few seconds of passing. A whole world going about the very beginning of its morning in its own quiet way, entirely separate from you and your train and your frosted window. And then gone. You breathe. It is very peaceful now. Not that it was ever not peaceful, but there is a deeper peace available in the full morning, when the night has fully receded and the light is clear, and the world outside has settled into the fact of being daytime. The frost will not last. You know this. The sun will warm the air, and the ice crystals will give up their cold and become moisture again, and the fields will return to their normal green or brown or gray, and by mid-morning there will be nothing left to show that the frost was ever there. But right now it is still there. Right now the sun is new and low, and the frost still covers everything, and the shadows are still long, and everything is still held in the particular, temporary beauty of a frosty morning. You are watching it from a train. That is all. That is everything. Click, 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 click. Let me stay here with you for a little longer. In this compartment, on this train, watching the frosty morning hills roll past. There is no need to rush toward the end of the journey. The station will arrive when it arrives. For now, there is only the window and the fields and the light and your own quiet breathing. Let your body be completely still. Feel each part of you settled and at rest. Your head on the pillow, your hands on the blanket, your legs stretched out, still and warm beneath the wool. Outside, the hills continue. They have been continuing for hours now, and they will continue for a little while longer. Each one slightly different, each one carrying the same frost, the same stillness, the same pale morning light. A river appears. It runs alongside the track for a while, narrow and smooth, and perfectly clear. Its banks are edged with frost-silvered grass and thin winter-bare willows that trail their branches toward the water. The water itself is dark and still, moving so slowly you can barely tell it is moving at all. It reflects the pale sky overhead and the trees and the very last of the morning mist, which drifts in thin white strands above the surface and catches the sunlight and glows. You watch the river. You watch the mist. You breathe. The river bends away and disappears behind a line of trees, and the fields return, frosted and wide, and the hills continue. You have been very good at resting tonight. Whatever you came into this journey carrying, whatever the day before gave you, whatever concerns or thoughts or unfinished business was tucked inside you when you boarded at midnight. It has been, for these hours, very far away. That is the gift of distance. Not just geographical distance, though that has helped, but the distance of darkness and sleep, the distance of a long night of movement, the distance that opens up between a person and their usual life when they step outside of it, even briefly, even just for a night on a train. You are outside your life right now. You are in the space between, and it is extraordinarily peaceful here. The frost is still on the fields. The sun is still low. The hills are still rolling, one after another, patient and rounded and covered in white. You breathe, click, 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 click. A hair. You see it for only a second. A brown hair sitting perfectly still in the middle of a frosted field, its long ears erect, its whole body absolutely motionless. It is facing the sun. It does not move as the train passes. It simply sits in the frost and faces the morning light, and then it is behind you. You hold the image, a brown hair in a frosted field facing the sun, still and alive and utterly at home in this cold, bright morning. You let it rest in your mind, the way you might hold a smooth stone in your palm. Just hold it. Feel the weight and smoothness of it. And then, when you are ready, let it go. The hair is in its field. You are on your train. Both of you are exactly where you belong. The warmth of the compartment is very complete now. It has been building through the hours of the journey, the warmth of the heater, the warmth of your body beneath the blanket, and now the added warmth of the morning sun beginning to come through the window, faint still, not hot, but present. A gentle addition to all the other gentleness of this morning. The sunlight lies across the blanket in a long, pale stripe. You watch it. It is very still. It does not move perceptibly. The sun moves so slowly that its light seems fixed, seems like something placed rather than something traveling. But if you watched for long enough, you would see it shift, degree by degree. The stripe would move across the blanket and up the wall and across the ceiling, slowly, endlessly, the way everything moves that has no hurry. You do not watch for long enough. Your eyes are soft, and your mind is soft, and the warmth on the blanket is exactly enough. You breathe in, out, in, out. The station is not far now. You can feel it the way you can always feel the end of a train journey, in the slight change of the rhythm, in the landscape beginning to gather itself toward habitation, in the feeling, without any specific signal, that the train is orienting toward its destination. More roads appear, running parallel or perpendicular to the line, a cluster of houses larger than the village, buildings that speak of a town, a factory somewhere, its chimneys dark, not yet smoking at this early hour, a level crossing, its red and white barriers raised, the road beyond it empty. The hills are still there, still frosted, still rolling, but they have moved to the background, become a setting rather than a subject, and the town is growing around the tracks, and the morning is growing brighter, and the frost is beginning, just beginning, suggest that it will not last forever. But it is still beautiful. It is still, in this particular light, at this particular hour, on this particular morning, completely beautiful. and you are still here to see it. Let me help you settle back into stillness, even as the journey reaches its end. Because the end of a train journey is not a dramatic thing. It is simply the train slowing, and the platform appearing, and the world outside the window coming to a stop instead of flowing past. It is quiet. It is gradual. And even at the platform, even when the wheels finally come to rest, and the rhythm you have listened to all night goes silent, you can carry this stillness with you. The frost in the fields, the low sun, the hills, the absolute silence outside the window, the warm compartment, the soft blanket, the pillow. These are yours to keep. You take a slow breath. The train is slowing. The platform is appearing. The wheels are quieter now, their counting slowing, the intervals between clicks growing imperceptibly longer. Click, 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 click. You breathe. The frost is still on the hills. The sun is still at its low morning angle, and everything is still very beautiful and very still. But wait, the journey is not finished yet. Let me take you back, back to the window, back to the frost, back to the rolling hills and the pale morning light and the absolute silence outside. Let the platform dissolve. Let the gathering town dissolve. Let the train go back to its full speed, its full rhythm. Click, 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 click. We are not there yet. There is more to see. The valley opens wide. In the distance, perhaps 2 miles ahead, the hills part and reveal a broader valley. And across the valley floor, the frost lies in an unbroken sheet of white. A stream crosses it, barely visible. A thin, dark line winding without urgency through the white fields. Trees stand at its banks in clusters, and individually, all bare, all frost white, all perfectly still. The sky above the valley is cloudless and enormous. It is that particular blue of a cold, clear morning, deep and transparent. A blue that has no warmth in it, but carries a kind of clear, clean beauty that warm blues do not have. It is the blue of altitude and of cold and of the first hour of a winter morning. Beneath that blue, everything is white and still. The train descends into the valley and crosses it, and you are surrounded on all sides by frost and stillness and that enormous cold blue sky. And it is exactly, completely, the right thing for this morning. You breathe. A hawk, high up, riding a thermal you cannot feel from inside the train. A hawk circles with absolute patience over the frosted valley. It does not flap its wings. It does not alter its course. It simply circles, held up by the invisible warmth rising from the cold ground, describing the same wide circle again and again, as if it is all morning, which it does. You watch it circle twice. Then the train carries you past, and the hawk is behind you, still circling, still patient, high above the frost. There are more stone walls. They are everywhere in this landscape, running in every direction across the hillsides and the valley floors, dividing the land into fields of varying sizes, some broad and open, some narrow and long, all of them frosted, all of them still. The walls are made of gray stone, dry stacked without mortar, and they have been there for a very long time. Generations of hands built them, cleared the stones from the fields, and stacked them up, and they have stood ever since, through every winter, through every frost, and they will stand for a long time yet. There is something very calming about old things, about things that have endured longer than you have and will endure longer than you will, things that are not in a hurry because time works differently for them. The stone walls have seen many mornings like this one. They will see many more. This frost is one of thousands. This cold, clear light is one of countless such lights, and you are passing through briefly and gently in your warm train, and the walls go on. Click, 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 click. Let your breathing slow even further. You have been breathing well for the whole journey. But now, in the full morning, in the clear light, let your breath become even slower, even more peaceful. In, hold very gently for a moment, and out, in and out. Each breath is a little gift you give your body, a small, complete act of rest. The air comes in and does its quiet work and goes out again and takes whatever it can carry with it, and the next breath comes in and begins again. Your body knows how to do this. It has been doing it for your entire life. You do not need to manage it or improve it or think about it. You only need to allow it. Allow it. In, out, in, out. The hills are all around you. The frost covers everything. The morning sun is a low, golden presence to the east, and you breathe. The train has entered a cutting. Steep embankments rise on either side, their faces covered in frost-browned grass, and here and there, the roots and lower branches of trees that grow at the top. The sky narrows to a strip of pale blue overhead. The sound of the wheels changes slightly, echoing off the close earth walls. And then the cutting ends, and the world opens out again, wider than before, and you breathe, and the hills are back, and the frost is back, and the sky is broad and blue and cold. Click, 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 click. You are very, very peaceful. This is not a performance of peacefulness. This is actual stillness, actual quiet, actual rest, the kind that comes from a long, warm night of gentle motion and the arrival of a still, cold, beautiful morning. Your mind is empty of anything urgent. Any thought that arises is soft and does not stay. A word, an image, a feeling that passes without demanding attention. You are simply here, warm, still, breathing, watching when your eyes are open the frosted hills, not watching when your eyes are closed the darkness behind them. Both are peaceful. Both are fine. A farmhouse close to the line. This one has a dog in the yard, a brown and white dog, and it watches the train pass with a patient, unhurried attention. It does not bark. It simply watches. Its tail moves once slowly, and then it turns and walks back across the frosted yard toward the house. A light is on in the kitchen window. Someone is in there, invisible to you, moving through their morning. Making tea, perhaps. Standing at the window with a cup in their hands, looking out at the frost. Or busy at the stove, or sitting at the table, or still in that half-awake state of early morning when you are up, but not yet entirely present. You pass, and the farmhouse recedes, and you will never know which of those things was true. That is all right. Some things are complete in their mystery. You breathe. The light is changing again. The sun has risen a little higher, and the character of the light has shifted from the intense, golden, horizontal light of the first hour to something slightly cooler, slightly more vertical. The shadows are not quite as long. The frost does not quite sparkle with the same sharp fire. It is beautiful in a different way now. Calmer, perhaps, more settled. The landscape is not being discovered by the light anymore. It is simply being lit by it. The frost is beginning to thin at the very tops of the hills, where the sun has been working longest. Just barely, the white is fractionally less white there. The green of the grass is just beginning to show through like something remembered. But in the valleys, where the sun has not yet reached, the frost is complete. Deep white, deep shadow, deep cold, deep still. You are in one of those valleys now, and the sun is above the hills, and the shadow is long, and the frost is perfect, and the silence is absolute. Click, 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 click. Let me describe the silence one more time, not the silence inside the train. Inside the train, there is the rhythm of the wheels and the hum of the engine and the faint sounds of the world the train carries. That is not silence. That is a kind of music. The silence is outside. You cannot hear it exactly, but you can see it. You can see it in the frost that lies undisturbed on every surface. You can see it in the smoke that rises straight up from every chimney without deviation. You can see it in the perfectly still surface of every pond and puddle and stretch of water. You can see it in the trees, whose branches do not move. When there is no wind, the world achieves a particular quality of stillness that nothing else produces. Everything is exactly where it settled. Nothing is being pushed or moved or changed by the air. The air itself is still, lying over the landscape like something sleeping. The frost is the record of that stillness. It formed because the air was still and cold and patient, and it remains because the air continues still and cold and patient. You are looking at the evidence of silence, and it is the most restful thing you have ever seen. Breathe, just breathe. The train carries you through the valley. The frost carries the morning light. The hills carry the frost. The sky carries everything. And you are here, warm and still and deeply, completely rested, watching all of it from behind a pane of cool glass. And it is exactly enough. There is a pond at the edge of a field, smaller than the one you saw earlier. Oval, very still, its surface a perfect mirror. The frosted reeds at its edges stand like small pale sentinels. A pair of ducks sleep on the bank, their heads tucked under their wings, completely still. The pond reflects the sky. The sky reflects nothing. Together, they make a composition of perfect balance. The gray-blue above and the gray-blue below, the reeds at the boundary, the sleeping ducks, the frost on everything, the sun beginning to touch the water's surface with the very first suggestion of gold. The train passes. The ducks do not stir. The pond continues to reflect its sky. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw go soft. Let your hands open, palms up, fingers uncurled, resting on the blanket. Feel the weight of your arms, just the weight, not heavy in a tiring way, heavy in the way of something that has been carried for a long time and has finally been put down. The pleasant, released weight of rest. Feel your legs, long and still beneath the blanket. Feel your back, settled against the mattress. Feel your head, heavy and warm on the pillow. You are completely supported. Every part of you is held by something. The mattress holds your back. The pillow holds your head. The blanket holds your warmth. The train holds you in its motion. You do not need to hold yourself up. You can let go entirely. Let go. The train will do the holding. The hills are growing again, not dramatically, gently. They have been gradually rising through the last part of the journey, getting a little taller, a little more present. And now they surround the valley on three sides, the rounded summits higher against the blue sky, the slopes longer and steeper. The frost is complete up here. No sun has reached these heights yet. The shadows are deep and blue and cold, and the frost is as it was at midnight, or as it was an hour before dawn, fully formed and perfectly white and absolutely still. At the very top of one of the hills, a single sheep stands. Just one, white against the white frost, except that the frost is flat and the sheep has a shape. A small round body on four thin legs looking down the hillside. It does not move. It stands at the very top of the hill in the cold morning air and looks at nothing in particular or everything at once. You watch it. It does not watch you. The train passes, and the hill passes, and the sheep on the summit recedes until it is a white dot against a white slope, against a pale blue sky. And then it is gone. The world is very beautiful when it is still. That is the lesson of a frosty morning. That is the lesson of the sleeper train, of the night journey, of waking up somewhere completely different. When everything is still, you can see the beauty that is always there. The frost does not create the beauty. It reveals it. It covers the familiar contours of the land in a thin layer of white and makes you see the shapes and slopes and distances that were there all along. The shapes and slopes and distances you might not have noticed if the grass were green and the fields were busy and the morning were warm. The frost makes everything visible, and then the sun comes and the frost melts and the visible becomes hidden again. but you will have seen it. You are seeing it now. Rolling hills, morning frost, absolute silence, and somewhere deep inside you, something quiet and still that matches it. I want you to imagine for a moment that you could step off this train, not at the station, but here, right here, in the middle of the frosted valley, in the middle of the cold, clear morning. Imagine the train stopping, just for a moment, with no noise and no fuss, and you stepping down from the carriage onto the frost-covered ground. The cold would hit you immediately. A good cold, a clean cold, the kind that makes you take a sharp breath and then breathe out a long white cloud. The kind that makes your cheeks go pink and your eyes go clear and your mind go very, very quiet. Your footsteps would crunch in the frost, each step a small, crisp sound, the only sound in the world. You would stand there for a moment in the frosted field and look around. The hills rising on every side, the frost covering everything. The sky a wide, pale blue, the sun low to the east, golden and clear. The silence would be enormous, not the silence of an empty room, not the absence of sound. The silence of the outdoors, the silence of the open country on a still, cold morning. A silence that is full and complete and alive. You would breathe it in, and everything inside you would go still. And then, gently, the train would carry you away again, back into your warm compartment, back to your pillow and your blanket, and you would lie back down, and the wheels would click, and the hills would roll past, and you would carry that silence inside you. You carry it still. The valley narrows, the hills close in on either side, and the track follows the valley floor, and the frost continues, and the sky is a bright strip above the slopes. A stream comes alongside again, different from the one before. Smaller, faster, too fast to freeze at its center, though its banks are iced, and the rocks in its shallow bed are each wearing a small cap of frost. The water is dark and clear, and it catches the sunlight and turns it into movement, into small flashes and glints that are the only moving things in this still world besides the train. Water and light, the only things moving. Everything else is still. Click, 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 click. You might be wondering, in a half-awake way, what is at the end of this journey. You do not need to wonder. The end of the journey is somewhere warm and quiet. That is all you need to know. Somewhere you will step off the train, and the cold air will meet you, and you will stand for a moment on a platform in the early morning and breathe. And the frost will be there too, on the platform, on the rooftops, on the branches of any trees nearby, and it will be very quiet, and you will feel exactly as you feel right now, rested, still, present. The journey will end and the morning will continue, and you will move through it slowly, without urgency, carrying everything the night gave you. But that is later. Right now, there are still hills. Right now, there is still frost. Right now, the sun is still finding the frozen fields and turning them gently to gold. Stay here a little longer. A signal box. old and square, set beside the track on a slight rise, its windows reflecting the morning sky. The signal arms are raised, green lights showing, giving the train permission to continue. A figure is just visible inside, moving across one of the windows. Someone at their work in the early morning, keeping the trains on time and on track. The signal box passes. The train continues. You have been on this train for many hours now, through the depth of midnight, through the still hours of 2 and 3 and 4 in the morning, through the first gray suggestion of dawn, through the frost coming into visibility in the early light, through the sun rising and catching every crystal. Many hours. And in all those hours, the train has not stopped. It has moved through the dark and then through the light with the same steady rhythm, the same patient counting of the wheels, and you have been here in your warm compartment, sleeping and waking and watching the world change outside the window. That is a very long time to be held. That is a very long time to be moving without effort, resting without guilt, traveling without responsibility. You received it all, every hour of it, the dark hours and the gray hours and the gold hours, and you are here. Let your mind drift now. Do not hold onto any particular thought or image. Let the hills and the frost and the morning light dissolve into each other the way they do at the edge of sleep, blurring their outlines, becoming simply a feeling rather than a picture. A feeling of white, of cold, of morning, of stillness, of warmth inside, of the rhythmic counting of the wheels, of the long, patient night behind you. Let these blend into each other. Let them become a single, soft sensation that is simply rest. You are very deeply rested. You are very deeply still. Your breathing is slow and even. Your body is heavy and warm. The train carries you. Click, 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 click. The last of the hills. The valley opens out one final time, wide and flat, and the hills that have been your companions all morning fall behind and stand in a line to the north and west, still frosted, still patient, still perfectly quiet. Ahead, the land levels. Fields stretch flat to the horizon. The frost covers them all. The sun, now a little higher, a little warmer, casts long flat shadows from every fence and hedge and building. A church tower appears, then another, the outskirts of a town, houses with frost on their rooftops, cars parked on streets white with frost, a dog walking a deserted pavement, a light in a shop window. The world is waking up, slowly, as things should wake, without hurry, and you are arriving. The train is slowing, barely perceptibly, but you feel it. The rhythm does not change, but the rhythm has less urgency behind it. The engine is doing less work. The world outside is coming to a pace at which it can be studied rather than simply watched. Frost on a garden hedge, a gate, a latch, a garden with a bird feeder, and at the bird feeder, two small birds, a sparrow and something smaller and darker, pecking at the seed. A road bridge overhead, the underside frost gray. A signal, red this time, and then green as the train approaches. The platform. The platform is ahead, long and quiet, with only a few people on it at this early hour. A man walking with his hands in his pockets. A woman with a trolley case. A porter moving slowly. Frost on the platform roof, frost on the bench. Frost on the iron railings. The train slows, click, 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 and stops. You lie still for a moment after the wheels go quiet. The silence that replaces the rhythm of the wheels is very complete, very sudden. You had not realized how much of the background of this journey was that steady counting until it stops, and the world is quiet in a different way, a stopped way, a still way. The frost is on the platform outside. The sun is on the frost. The morning is cold and clear and completely silent. You are somewhere completely different. You did it. You boarded in the dark and you arrived in the light. You slept and you woke and the world changed around you while you rested. The hills came and went. The frost appeared from nowhere while you slept. The sun rose without you having to do anything about it. All of that happened, and you were held through all of it, warm, still, rested, and now. Let the platform dissolve, let the town dissolve. Let the journey dissolve into the soft background of sleep. You do not have to get off the train. You can stay here, in this warm compartment. On this stopped train, or on this still moving train, it does not matter anymore. The rhythm and the stillness are both the same now. The frost is on the hills. The sun is low. The silence is absolute, and you are here, breathing, still, warm, at rest. Let everything go very quiet now. You're breathing, slow, even, barely there. The last images of the frost, fading gently into the soft darkness behind your eyes. The hills, the pale sky, the birds, the hare in the field, the pond, the single tree, all of it fading very slowly, very gently, the way frost fades in the morning sun. No drama, no edge, just a slow, smooth dissolving into the warm dark. You are so tired, in the best possible way, tired the way you get tired after a long night of gentle motion and a morning of quiet beauty. Your body is completely heavy. Your mind is completely soft. There is nothing left to do, nothing left to see, nothing left to think. Only this, the warm room, the dark window, or the pale window, or no window at all. Just rest. Just the long, even breath, in and out, and in and out. The frost is still on the hills. You cannot see it anymore, but it is there, cold and white and still. And the hills are rolling gently, one after another. And the train is moving through them, or the train is still. It does not matter. You are moving through something, or something is moving through you, and it is slow and quiet and the most peaceful thing in the world. Breathe the frost, the hills, the silence, the morning, all of it, still all of it, soft, all of it, yours. Sleep now. The train will carry you. The frost will stay on the hills until the sun has warmed enough to take it. The silence will hold everything in place, and you will breathe slowly in the warm dark and drift and rest and be very, very still. Sleep now. The night has been long. The morning has been beautiful, and now there is only rest. Deep, quiet, still rest. The wheels are counting, or they are silent. The hills are rolling, or they are still. The frost is glittering, or it is fading. None of it matters, only this. Only now, only breath, in, out, sleep.